Thank you. Representative Tallman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would like to personally welcome Dr. Eschball here to the committee hearing. And you've interjected yourself several times. I appreciate that. So you can go home and tell the folks in Biglerville that you represented your organization well. My question is going to be across the, I guess, the whole panel. I'm going to make one statement. Rochester, New York in the 80s tried self-policing by the teachers union. It did not work. And so evaluation of teachers has always been a very controversial item, and I don't see anything wrong having had it done to me and having to do it myself in my time in private industry. Yes, it could be subjective, capricious, but decisions have to be made. And I will share one instance with you. I was told I had to release 4 or 5 of my people who worked for me. And then after I did that, I was called in and released. I always thought that was kind of neat. They let me do the dirty work and then let me go. But anyways, here's my question. My own school district, which is Bermudian, has adopted a budget or a contract 4.5% across 5 years. That is totally unreasonable, and I'm just going to challenge the school board folks. That is an unreasonable, totally irresponsible request. But here's my question. The number of teachers in this Commonwealth has increased very dramatically, whereas the number of students has decreased almost as dramatically. And yes, I think school districts should operate as a business. We're putting less product out the door. You shouldn't need as much staff. That's if I'm making widgets and I'm making less widgets, I don't need to buy as much material. I don't need to have as many employees. So how is it, because you say 65% of your budget is professional staff salaries, how is it that we have increased the number of teachers in disproportionate to the amount of decrease in students? Thank you.
Well, I'd be happy to introduce that first. I understand what you're saying. I would add that at the same time, our test scores, and by any objective measure, Pennsylvania schools are doing a great job. So along with that increase, you'll see an increase in academic achievement. I think it's a dangerous path to go down when we talk about educating students and to talk about product or widgets. They clearly are not that. I know in my own experience in the classroom that the changes in the needs of students has risen exponentially, whether it's because of economic situations, family dynamics, employment situations, whatever it might be. The needs are greater. The requirements from the state and federal government are greater. And in order to meet those requirements and those needs, it requires, it's a service model, if you want to use a business analogy, and it requires employees to provide that service. So I think it's a dangerous analogy to compare business and schools. They function for completely different reasons and under different circumstances.
Thank you.
Just to add, if
Sure.
I could, I would say two federal requirements are a big factor in that: No Child Left Behind and the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA. I think there's been a huge trend of hiring teachers as a result of those federal mandates, of which is really now the burden on local revenue and not federal monies.
And I'd add that the widgets have changed. The needs of the widgets have changed, and the oversight committee that looks at what we have to do to produce our widgets has changed. No Child Left Behind, IDEA. We simply these aren't capricious decisions. We've had to meet the needs of unfunded mandates.
And I would add that we have existing state and federal policies that call for us to expand programs. Anything over the Act 1 index heretofore in terms of percentage increase in basic education funding, we had to, by state law, pay for expanded or new programs. So that increased teaching positions and program responsibilities because that's where the money had to go. Under the federal entitlement programs, you can't supplant. You have to add to. It's not a replacement of local money. So to some degree, we had to out of necessity by state and federal policy.